Zal starten.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first data quality webinar here at DataShift. I'm Lynn. I will be hosting the session today, so welcome, everyone. Maybe just a small introduction of myself. I work at DataShift now for almost a year, very close to 1 year, always around data governance and data quality topics, supporting with the colleagues our clients in their data challenges with how can data governance and data quality support them in their business initiatives. Before that, always worked in data companies and data organizations, very much focused on data quality, but also always more from a business side rather than a technical side. I mentioned we have our first data quality webinar because our goal is to organize more of these kinds of data quality events. We believe at DataShift that there is a lot to say around data quality, that it's a very interesting topic that deserves a lot of attention. So the first one, and the goal is really to look at data quality from a lot of different angles each time. Data quality is not always the most sexy topic. I think it's very interesting, but not everyone will agree. But it's something that people do not do just for the sake of doing data quality. It always fits in a business context, in a business need in companies. So the goal is really to look at it from different angles in each session that we will do over time. So today our angle is AI. AI is all around. Everyone is talking about AI today. Very interesting topic, and I think much more than just a buzzword, of course. AI is something that will really help companies deliver a lot more value than ever before out of data. But it also comes with a lot of challenges. A lot of data, challenges. So the link to the importance of data quality is very obvious. Now, that will be the topic of today. I'm not the biggest AI expert, so I invited my colleague Seppe, who is an AI expert here at DataShift, to help me out on the link between data quality and AI. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So as Lynn mentioned, my focus is on analytics and AI, trying to solve the business questions through the use of data. And I'm here today to hopefully take this very sexy topic into AI and use that to point out the relevance and the necessity for data quality.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So what we propose today is the order that we will work on is we will first look into a case. It's really to help us set the scene and give an example of what we see as challenges in companies today around AI and how data quality is in there. We haven't invented the case. It is a combination of situations that we see, and our colleague Gorik will explain it later. After that, we will have a bit of a discussion around the topic between us, and at the end of the session, we will certainly have some time for Q&As, so do not hesitate to put your questions in the chat. We will look at them at the end. And if you're not able to look at all the questions, we will certainly come back on it after the webinar. So let's kick off, and I propose, Gorik, that you start off with the case.
Yes, indeed. So in this case, I'm taking the role of a data and analytics manager responsible for Belgium for a multinational retail company. And one of the interesting projects that we've worked on was about leveraging AI to optimize our inventory management. Basically, we wanted to predict product demands in an accurate way to make sure that we can minimize stockouts, meaning that our customers don't have to wait too long for certain products, but as well minimize overstocking, meaning that it could eventually lead us to have to sell certain products at a lower price. And we wanted to do that by developing a machine learning model that uses internal data like sales data and product information, but as well external data, for example, holiday planning, because as you know, during the Christmas period, people usually order a lot more things online. But as well, other information from the market, like whether our competitors are doing a promotion and things like that. And that data is combined into one data set that you then can use for training and retraining the model and predicting the product demand. So as you know, when you work with data, there are challenges with that, and this case was definitely not an exception, and even maybe more in this case than ever. We had actually 3 big challenges when we worked on this project. The first one was related to missing data. So we saw that we had several days of data not coming in the data set, and obviously that has an impact on the model because it can introduce certain biases because you don't do or train a model on complete data, meaning that the predictions of the model could also be less accurate. Now, luckily, the data scientists noticed this, and together with the data engineers, because it was a pipeline issue, we fixed the issue to make sure that the data was coming in more reliably. But you also put in place certain measures to make sure that you get notifications, that you get informed basically when data is not coming in on a daily basis. Another challenge that we had was related to a metric that we got from an external party, a metric on market trends. And what happened as we were doing the project, they actually decided to change the way that metric is calculated. And that also resulted in strange predictions from the model, impacting our machine learning model. And obviously, we needed to take that into account and adjust the model for that new way of calculation. And technically, that's not a problem, but of course, that's a setback again on the project timeline. And the final challenge is related to cleaning data, and it's maybe the biggest challenge because we are combining several data sources, both internal and external data. You do see sometimes some inconsistencies, data that is not valid, maybe some data that is missing that should not be missing at all. And these are things that you definitely discover along the way. And they are time consuming to deal with that because the data scientists need to take them into account to make sure that there's a way to deal with them, to exclude them so it doesn't impact the model. And these are definitely things that you also discover as you do the project, and again, a setback on the project. Now, luckily, in the end, we were able to successfully predict the product demand, and our operations teams use that information to decide whether to buy or not to buy a product, which eventually leads to a higher customer satisfaction and as well reducing the cost. But of course, you could say that it should have gone a lot smoother because of these challenges. There were some setbacks regarding the project timeline. And frankly, it's also not just a concern or a challenge that should be there for only the data scientists. These are really challenges that are concerning the entire organization. And that's why we are really looking for insights on how to bring this under the attention of the entire company and deal with those challenges in a more structural way. And that will definitely be important as well for the next project where we want to set dynamic prices, where many more data sources are going to be integrated, where we definitely want to have a smoother way to go through the project and avoiding as much possible these challenges and start to solve these challenges more as an organization involving the right people from the beginning.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gorik, for the case. It is a case that we put together, but I think it's a really realistic situation that we see in companies today. A lot of companies see the big value of AI, start experimenting around AI, start looking at how the results of those AI predictions can be integrated in operational processes, but they run into data challenges, data quality challenges, even much more than before. And I find that an interesting one because, yeah, I'm maybe a bit biased, but data quality has always been a topic that is important when you want to derive conclusions from data, when you want to build your business decisions on data. Data quality for me has always been a top priority. But what we see now and what I hear in the market is that this AI is really leveraging much more even than before the need of a decent thought around data quality, not just in one team, but really on a company level. Maybe first question, why do you think that is so much more important now in these AI discussions?
Yeah, I think what we hear left and right is that a lot of the time spent on these AI projects is actually spent on doing data quality checks. 80% of the time data scientists spend is on data quality. And we even hear numbers that a lot of the AI projects will actually fail to data quality. So challenges left and right, and a lot of time is spent there. You're right in saying that data quality has always been important, but I think for AI, that's even more the case. At a basic level, these AI models train from examples. If you give them the wrong examples, you'll get the wrong predictions as well. So making sure that you have good examples, correct data, high quality data will help you train these models in the first place.
It's also because of the black box element in AI.
Yeah, some models are more explainable than others, but you're right in saying that most of these AI pipelines, if I can call them that, are very complex and automated, which makes that it's very difficult to find these issues if you don't do it in a systematic way.
Yeah. All right. So if you go a little bit more in detail, what is it about the data challenges in AI that make that it's that much complicated? You work on a lot more data.
We heard the 3 V's of data very often. It's just more data in very diverse ways that it's very difficult for a data scientist to check that. But in some way, he needs to do that to make sure that he can train his first model. You need to make sure that the data exists. It's very maybe almost like a silly example, but if you have missing data in your data set you train on, you miss certain days or miss certain columns that you aren't aware of, that creates biases in your model, and it will not be as good as it should be. So their basic check of do I have all the data would be very useful. That's the first thing. And then I think the second one is for the data that I have available, is it correct in the way that it reflects reality? Can I make sure that I don't have duplicate data or all the measures that I have in relevant ranges and stuff like that? It's really a basis to train your first model.
So both the sheer amount of data, which makes it very hard for the data scientist to really focus on checking all the data on his side and guaranteeing that what he puts in his model will be correct. That there is no bias because there is missing data, but also the availability of the data. We saw in the example that Gorik gave, the situation of all of a sudden we realize that certain data is not available at the right time in the right format, and that you have to go back to the data engineers to try to fix it. So it's really data quality in a broad sense. Data availability, data quality, data observability.
Yeah, and I think the data availability will probably shine through much more when you get to like a second stage. Once you have a model that is trained on historic data, you need to feed it new data to make predictions. And there, you often just don't have the time for someone to manually check this data. But in some ways, you have to make sure that it's still similar enough to the data that's trained on, so that the model doesn't make strange predictions. And there, you really need a systematic and almost automated data quality approach to complete that data flow and to get to relevant predictions.
Yeah, because what we hear here in the case, we looked at the situation where you feel that there is more an ad hoc approach. We start from we want to develop AI models for a certain purpose, and we start working and we look at the data that's available. But what we say is that we definitely need a more structural approach. Because we spend so many time on preparation, whether it's about internal sources or external sources. You need to be able to count on a certain level of quality in the sources that are delivered to you, to the AI team, because otherwise, yeah, you lose a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So we look at it from a data scientist perspective, because that's where the AI modeling is being done.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly, what we see here is that the data scientist cannot be the sole responsible for the data preparation, and definitely not for the data quality.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think businesses should just ask themselves the question, do you want your data scientists, people that are trained and interested, get energy from analyzing data, developing models? Do you want these people to spend 80% of their time checking data quality?
Mm-hmm.
That's really the question you have to ask. Data quality is definitely something that is very much needed. Data scientists probably have a good say in what is needed or what type of checks that we can do. But I think it's just, if you give all that work to these people, you're putting a little bit too much burden on this role. And yeah, I think data scientists often have a different skill set than just sheer data quality.
So what we say is that the work that needs to be done on data quality in a broad sense, not only for one specific use case, but a more structural approach around AI, you need to involve very different profiles within the organization, both from business perspective, but also from a technical perspective throughout the life cycle of your data throughout the company. From a source perspective, even if it's external data, you need to sit together with those people on data contracts or SLAs or whatever you call it, but clear focus on quality that will be delivered to the data scientists team. But it's really a company approach that you need. You agree?
Yeah, I think so. Because if you give all that responsibility to the data scientists, they might not deliver a sufficient structural approach to the data quality aspect of these projects. I don't think data scientists, they mainly look at their project as trying to build this model to solve quite a specific problem most of the time, which is already, I think, a different approach than is needed for data quality, to make sure that if you do the data quality for one project, it can also help next projects and speed that up. And then also, I don't think that's necessarily the goal of a data scientist. In addition, they might not have knowledge or the tools available to do it in a structured way. Because their main focus is on analyzing and focusing on data. So I think indeed bringing in these additional skills about tools, knowledge, and how to set this up from a structured perspective is definitely beneficial.
Yeah. So if you look a little bit more at the roles and the people that we need to set up this structural approach, let's start maybe first with the business side, which is often, I think, forgotten. But it's people that know what the business context is in which we are building this AI model, the business context around the data that is being used from internal and external sources is a really valuable source, not only for the AI as such, but also to develop the right data quality reflections.
Yeah, I think often business should be the starting point of these AI projects. They probably have some business problem that they want to solve, and we've identified AI as a good way to try and solve this. For a data scientist to start working on that, ideally you would have a high quality data set that you also understand. So there the business already has to offer, I think, two things. First of all, it's the project. What are we going to focus on first? But then secondly, also, what does this mean from a business perspective, and what does all the information that we have first of all, what information, what is it? Can you explain it to me? Can we understand it? And then in what way could that contribute to building the correct model? So really understanding and setting the priorities, I think, is very much the responsibility of the business.
Yeah, and then maybe for a more technical side, from the source perspective, there we come back to the same topic. It is really important that there is a structural approach towards the data that is really important, that will be used for important use cases, to invest in a process on how are we going to tackle data quality in our company in a structural way, using the necessary tooling, setting up pipeline monitoring, warnings, alerting systems to really enable little by little this increase of quality that, as a source team, let's say, in a broad sense, you can guarantee to the data user, being our data scientist who starts working on the data.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be an ideal scenario. Once the business says we have this information, you of course need to get it to the data scientist or to an environment where you can access the data and analyze it. So a lot of work is needed in setting up these data pipelines, and ideally you would do the data quality checks already there. You can present the data set in a structured way to the data scientist that you can also explain. Also means that you can reuse it over multiple projects. If you bring that responsibility to the data scientist, he might do all these checks in his specific project, but then you jump to the next project, might be a different data scientist on a related topic, and all these data quality checks probably just stay behind in the previous project, and you have to do it again. So if you can bring that these quality checks earlier in the data pipeline, I think it's you get a lot more reward for all the effort that you put in.
Yeah, it's typically something that is defined in a data contract approach, being as a source team, these data are being made available. This is the freshness of data. This is the way the data can be used. This is the quality that we guarantee. These are the kind of checks that are being done. This is really something that is valuable, because then at least you have this quality stamp that you can use as a data scientist, not with your eyes closed, because there's still certain responsibilities on the data scientist to add maybe another layer of data quality and needs more within the specific use case, but at least give the security that do not have to redevelop a whole set of data quality checks on the AI side.
Yeah, I definitely think we should not put like business and data engineers, data all in silos. I think they have to communicate and have a lot of feedback signals to each other on what can be improved. But I really like the idea of like a data contract. Definitely, once you move to a more once you have a model and you want to put this in production, there I really like it, because then you're often in a quite automated way getting new data and feeding it to the model. Then the data scientist might not actually be there to do the checks, and like we've seen in the example that Joering brought, if things happen in the outside world, metrics change, maybe you have some sort of data quality issues somewhere, and you don't check it at that point, and then the predictions of the model will also be incorrect, or at least have the possibility to be incorrect. So having that reassurance of like a data contract and clearly stating these checks are in place and maybe these are not, and then we can estimate the risk and say we're okay with this, or we need to improve.
And it's part of a bigger scope of the right tooling and the right processes that you put in place, because it's one thing to detect the data quality issues, but it's also important to monitor and to set up a process. What needs to happen when a certain issue is detected? Warnings: do we block the pipeline? Do we send a warning? What is the gravity of the issue? What are the thresholds in there? So it is around, as we always say, people and processes and tooling that need to come together in a structural manner.
That would be an ideal scenario, I think. Probably companies can take steps little by little, start with the basics, maybe even start within a single project, but then as they grow, try to build this out in a more structured way.
Yeah, because a lot of companies, I feel, are still very much in an exploration phase, but the step then to integrate it in an operational process and to have even sometimes real-time actions linked to these models, then first, it's really important to think about the MLOps part and make sure that these things are automated, managed, the processes are clear, because otherwise...
and potentially that's even one of the biggest challenges or blocking factors of companies to move from a proof of concept, and they train the model, they see some value in it, but then starting to put this in production, that's probably one of the biggest issues, is like, can we really trust this, not only today, but also in the future? Might indeed be one of the more challenging parts of the whole AI story.
All right. So as a conclusion of our discussion, data quality is an interesting topic, and much more even now with AI, it is something that needs to be looked at on a structural basis in every AI-focused organization to make sure that enough attention is paid to the value of data quality from a tooling perspective, from a process perspective, and certainly from a roles and responsibility perspective, not to be forgotten.
Yeah.
To know if you have any last words to add to
I think a lot of buzz is created around AI, and then you mentioned in the beginning, maybe data quality doesn't get the same attention in this sphere, but I think it's very important to understand that historically data quality has been a big part of data scientists' work package, and if you want to bring this forward and get more maturity in working with predictive models, I think data quality will only be more and more important. So taking it on as a whole company involving business and IT people to build that together is definitely the way forward.
All right. Well, then I propose that we look a little bit at the questions and answers, the questions, and we will answer them. Maybe a first question. Indeed, we talked a lot about AI in general because it's such a wide concept, but specifically on the topic of LLMs, would we be able to apply the same logic there? Not exactly, I think.
I don't think the exact pipeline would look the same. I would definitely argue that data quality also for LLMs is very relevant.
But there are other challenges that we have with LLM because it's much more black boxed and you have a lot less influence on the training.
I think that was the main difference that I would make, is that you typically in a data quality pipeline, you put a lot of effort in getting the right data to train your model. In LLMs, you typically don't have that luxury. Someone else trained the model, you make use of it. You probably enrich it with your own data, so there you can make sure that you're adding high quality and the correct data. But I would also add that it's even more important to make a check of the output of the model. You don't have to show the output of the LLM directly to your users. I think doing checks on like what topics is it answering. Maybe financial companies don't want to give answers related to politics. You don't want harmful comments from this chatbot and present that to the users. So I think a lot of new checks and new tools will be needed for LLM specifically, and it's a world that is fully developing. A lot of new tools are coming out. So data quality stays very important, but it's slightly different.
Yeah, it's more on the output filtering than something that you can influence from the input. But I'm sure that you, as an AI expert, are following all the evolutions that we see there in the market to guide us through what are the new trends there. Another question that we received was, do you have specific tips and tricks to bring AI engineers and data quality people closer together? Because in a lot of companies, that is a big challenge. They are both in their own silos. So the knowledge is there, the expertise is there, but how can we bring people together? I think in general, there is a lot of effort that needs to be done explicitly, for example, in the intake process of a new use case to bring those people immediately around the table and make sure that those people fully grasp the need, the reason why certain data quality challenges need to be tackled, making sure that the whole group of people are gathered around those use cases to enable a growing understanding of how these people should work together, need to fit their work together, and also align on tooling, on processes between them. I see it more indeed maybe as a step-by-step use case base that it can help to open the spirits there. What do you think?
Yeah, what I would try to do is make sure you don't get this work on a project, throw it over the wall mentality. If you can indeed align the goals of both the AI engineers and the data quality squad, that they are both responsible for putting in place a structured approach for this data quality, is probably best. I think some of the ideas will come from data scientists, like, I have done these checks. I think we need to imply this in a structured way. And then data quality experts are probably better placed in thinking out what processes, what tools, where in the pipeline do we put these checks, but really trying to align their goals on how do we solve this data quality issue in a structural approach.
And what we see now is companies are exploring the AI or looking into what kind of use cases could use AI to make them stronger. Where should we apply AI first? And in these reflections, it could be an idea to have like a data quality champion or a representative of different teams to sit around the table and to develop together this framework, even if it's just for the first few use cases, to see, okay, structurally or semi-structurally for now, how are we going to tackle that from source to delivery, and really define what are the roles and responsibilities, what is the tooling, what is the process that will be used from the training or even before until the integration and follow-up in the operational context.
Yeah, I think that's defining who's taking which responsibility and trying to bring those all together as a team. Sounds like a reasonable approach.
All right. At the moment, I do not see much more questions popping up in the chat. Gorik is my assistant, but I don't see much other things coming. What I propose is that if you would have any questions after the session, that you certainly reach out to us. I think there is a lot of elements that we can further discuss on and further explore on in the context of AI and data quality. Besides that, I would really like to thank everyone for joining this webinar. I hope it was interesting. You will receive after the session a small questionnaire just to see what you thought, what we could improve, but also what are the subjects that you would love to see in next sessions. So do not hesitate, and certainly follow us on LinkedIn to be informed of next sessions. So with that, thank you very much, Seppe, also Gorik, and our great organizer, Bastiaan, here behind the scenes. up to the next session, I would say. Thank you very much.